The 1980s brought lots of changes to homes. New gadgets and furniture styles came in as old things went out. Some items that used to be in every house got left behind. Do you remember the brown appliances or the brick phone? What about shag carpets or cassette tapes? They may be gone today, but we still think about those fun retro things. In this video, we'll take a nostalgic walk through a 1980s home. You'll see 15 forgotten items that families used back then. It's a totally rad blast from the past. So sit back and let's explore how far homes have come since the 80s. 1. Cassette tape cabinets. Need to store your favorite 80s mixtapes? Cassette storage units were handy for organizing tapes and players. By the 1980s, cassettes replaced records as the most popular audio format. Stacking vertical cabinets with shallow drawers was common for storing tapes. Oak was a popular color. Some cabinets had nicer details like interior lining and locks. By 1987, companies even made cassette cabinets as pretty entertainment centers with glass doors to display the tapes. CDs started replacing cassettes in the 90s, but it wasn't until the 2000s that tapes totally faded away. But those cabinets still held on to all the great 80s music. 2. Dome clocks. You'd see dome clocks in almost every 1980s home. These round quartz clocks had a plastic crystal-looking dome over the face. They were super popular from the late 70s into the 80s and came in fun retro colors like bright red, yellow, green, or blue. The classic dome clock had numbers with lines, making a sunburst pattern. They had small feet, usually wood or metal. You'd find them on walls, desks, end tables, kitchen counters. They were everywhere. These clocks bring memories of school classrooms and Grandma's kitchen. Companies like General Electric, Lux, Telecron, and Ingram made dome clocks. They were affordable, simple to read, and matched the era's bold geometrics and rainbow bright colors. 3. Blue Willow pottery. You'd often find blue willow pottery dishes and ceramics in 1980s kitchens. This vintage china pattern dates back to the 1820s in China. It features pretty blue and white scenic drawings of pagodas, bridges, boats, and birds. Blue willow china saw a resurgence in the retro-loving 1970s through the 90s. Affordable dish sets and ceramic canisters, planters, and other decorative pieces made the vintage style popular in homes. The delicate lines and oriental drawings blended well with 80s feminine country decor styles. Companies like Interface Pottery by Shenango China still make new blue willow dishes today. But collectors also hunt flea markets and antique shops to add those real vintage 80s pieces to their kitchenware displays. 4. Commodore 64 computers. The Commodore 64 was the best-selling home computer of the 1980s. Over 17 million C64S were sold between 1982 and 1993. What made it so popular? Well, for only around $200, you get a complete system with a keyboard, CPU, disk storage, and display monitor. It plugged right into your TV at home. The C64 could do all sorts of amazing stuff considered high-tech then, like simple word processing and data storage, programming, email, calculators, calendars, alarms, and even basic video games. Everyone from kids to college students to small businesses used Commodores. By the late 1980s, IBM PCs and Apple computers were replacing C64S, but many 80s kids have fond memories of typing homework assignments or playing games on the classic beige all-in-one Commodore systems. 5. Address books. Before cell phones stored all your contacts, paper address books helped keep people organized. Thick books with A to Z alphabetized pages or pretty floral print notebooks were common to record names, addresses, phone numbers, and maybe little notes. 1980s, address books made switching info from old rotary phones easy. Pages had special sections for emergency contacts, important dates, and city services too. Without digital calendars or social media, these books were vital for saving family events, new friends info, business contacts, and more. pages got stuffed full over time with scribbled out numbers or squeezing in new people. When books got old, careful folks would neatly hand copy everything into a fresh new replacement. Today's phone contacts save us that tedious task. 6. Home phones. The home telephone was a fixture in 1980s houses. Most still had corded phones mounted on walls or kitchen counters. By 1987, over 93 million U.S. households had landlines. Buttons and handsets came in fun pops of color, but many phones were still plain old Black Bell models. Caller ID didn't exist yet, so you never knew who was phoning. Without cordless phones, curling cords everywhere got tangled as people walked around talking. Multi-line phones let 80s homes add dedicated lines for new necessities like modem internet access or fax machines. Kids loved their own Princess or Snoopy novelty phones, but they couldn't actually call out. Most conveniences we expect today, like conferencing, intercoms, and messaging, didn't exist. But in the 80s, hearing that ring was exciting. Who's calling? 7. Answering machines. Answering machines revolutionized phone calls by allowing the luxury of screening. In the early 80s, under 20% of homes had them, but by 1989, over half did. Early answering machines used mini cassettes to record outgoing greetings and incoming messages. Digital models got better sound quality, but cost over $200 initially. Key features 80s owners loved were remote message retrieval, call screening, and time-day stamping. But machines only held a few minutes at first. No room for long rambles. Outgoing greetings were very formal, like business calls. Quirky novelty greetings let personalities shine too. Today, answering machines are extinct relics that are lost to voicemail. But in the 80s, they were the peak into future communication. No more missed calls or waiting by the phone. 8. Waterbeds. Waterbeds were a funky furniture craze in the 1980s. Basically, giant vinyl water-filled mattresses on box frame platforms were supposed to feel super floaty and comfortable compared to regular beds. Heaters kept the water nice and cozy. Waterbed frames came in cool shapes, like circular or orb designs that matched the decade's colorful, fluid aesthetic. Filling and moving the giant water sacks was messy, though. Leaks happened a lot. By 1987, an estimated 5 to 7 million waterbeds were in American bedrooms. But high maintenance and shifting water noise eventually killed the fad. Towards the late 80s, airbeds became popular too. But nothing beats the memorable wave of lounging on a huge watery bed pile of sheets and pillows while listening to some gnarly 80s tunes on cassette. 9. Crimpers. 80s hair required some serious styling aids. Crimpers were electric tools that let you get those totally rad zigzag stripes in your locks, like curly fries for hair. Brushing hair between heated platens carved in the crispy patterns. By clamping down, running the length of sections, waiting for it to set, and then releasing, you have some extreme hair magic going on. Teasing and hairspray sealed the deal. Consumer crimpers first hit shelves in the early 80s. Fun ones had metallic gold and silver stripes or leopard prints. You had to be careful though, too much crimping damaged hair. The crimped look defined the 80s daring street style, but faded towards the 90s. Still, seeing crimped hair today brings back so many awesome retro memories. 10. Ghetto Blasters. Blasting beats as you walked? The 80s Ghetto Blaster has got you. These early boomboxes combined AM/FM radios with cassette players and speakers capable of rocking some very loud, very public music. Originating from Japanese models in the late 70s, they earned the nickname for their popularity in urban party scenes. Designs got ultra flashy with colorful logos, patterns, and chrome. By mid-decade, they were icons of youth street culture. Jamming out was portable with battery power or electric cord options. Later, competing with Walkman's CD players, they faded slowly to nostalgia status. But the instant atmosphere conjured up seeing someone with their tinny speakers and glitzy box kicking songs through the air is quintessential 80s vibes. 11. Encyclopedia Britannica. The iconic Encyclopedia Britannica sets were the gold standard for home reference before the internet, a staple in most middle-class family homes during the 1980s. Behind those stately leatherette covers lay over 44 million words spread across dozens of volumes covering topics like science, culture, geography, and history. Schools and parents value having this expansive knowledge resource within reach for their kids' development and education. The matching annual yearbooks added supplemental information to keep the full sets as up-to-date as possible in an era before easily updated digital wikis, though printing delays meant some factoids still risked being slightly outdated. Still, pulling those polished volumes off the shelf carried an air of scholarly importance and reliability even into the 90s, when CD-ROMs emerged as digital encyclopedias. Flipping open the thin pages to dive deep on any subject from A to Z made Encyclopedia Britannica synonymous with household intellectual authority in the pre-internet age when access to knowledge was far more limited. 12. Video cassette recorders. The video cassette recorder, VCR, brought tape cassette movie playback mainstream in the 1980s as prices finally dropped enough for over half of households to own one by 1990. Now, families could freely record TV shows and rent or buy pre-recorded videotapes to re-watch Hollywood films and shows at home whenever they wanted, revolutionizing entertainment options. This introduction of time-shifting TV programming gained massive popularity as families scheduled life around anxiously awaited shows during a golden age of cable channels and vibrant video rental stores. From the bulky wired exterior boxes requiring careful programming in the early 80s to the sleek, unified push-button models, commonplace by the decade's end, VHS player advances made home television viewing feel radically customizable past just broadcast schedules. The familiar blinking 12 o'clock awaiting resetting and the whirring clunk of inserting VHS tapes brings nostalgia today for this iconic piece of consumer tech history. 13. Atari. The popular Atari 2600 video game system landed under millions of excited Christmas trees after its 1977 release, bringing the new era of affordable at-home entertainment into family living rooms. These sleek cartridge-loaded consoles with simple joystick controls finally let families gathered around the TV compete in immersive, challenging arcade-style games like never before possible. Lasting gaming franchises like Pitfall, River Raid, Pac-Man, Space Invaders, and more defined the new world of interactive at-home challenges and multiplayer fun among friends and siblings. While rival consoles and more advanced software improved graphics and gameplay exponentially in later decades, Atari's iconic models pioneered the concept of accessible home gaming for the masses and translated the frenzied sights and sounds of coin-operated arcade cabinets into family rooms across America.